Howdy, Mike here from Fastlane Fitness, and this is the first episode of our brand new show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. We're calling it Bourbon and Barbells, and first I was going to call it Fitness Happy Hour, but we decided to go with Bourbon and Barbells. And it's pretty simple. We're going to be bringing on a new fitness coach every episode, and we're going to sit down over a glass of bourbon or whatever their beverage of choice is, and we're going to talk fitness. I'm trying to make this right now. You can actually go, in future reference, you can go on the Facebook page and you can watch it live. You can actually, pull up a drink of yourself, sit down, join us in the conversation. You can ask questions. You can get involved. My hope is that this will be a literal fitness happy hour. We can all hang out, talk about fitness, and learn some stuff. Today, this is our first episode, and so I wanted to have a special guest, and I've got my buddy here, Robbie Farlow from SideQuest Fitness. And the reason he may not be special to you yet, but he's special to me because he invited me on his podcast, which is absolutely awesome, the SideQuest podcast. And he has some seriously crazy, amazing coaches on that podcast. Like some guests that you would be fanboying. I'm surprised he hasn't had Arnold Schwarzenegger on there yet. Said some really cool people from the fitness industry on the show. And I feel blessed that I was one of them. And it's really funny. You need to check it out. I'm going to promote the heck out of it. You can see, I'm going to figure out what show notes and stuff are. He's kind of showing me the works. I will have his podcast, his website, his Snapchat, his Facebook, his Twitter, whatever it is that you can go follow on that. You can go check him out. I'm going to let him talk in a second. But first, let me tell you really quickly what SideQuest Fitness is about. It's about gamification and fitness for nerds, and it's awesome. And even if you're not nerdy, some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today can really help you because it's about mindset. And so I'm not going to spend any more time talking about his business. I'm going to let Robbie talk for himself and tell us a little bit about SideQuest Fitness and what it's about, and then we'll get into our discussion for the night. So yeah, take it away, Robbie.
Oh, I'm taking it away. Oh, you're giving me the floor.
Tell us a little bit about SideQuest, man.
Let me just get a sip of bourbon. I have a motto in life.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Larceny. It's a fantastic.
Larceny is that it's a company up in Kentucky, right? It's a small batch shop.
Yeah. Mid-range price, usually run you anywhere from, depending on the state you're in taxes, because Texas, dear God, was it so cheap to buy good booze in Texas.
Texas is awesome. What can I say?
I mean, listen, all I got to say is if you're in Texas and you love Ben & Jerry's, if you've not had the bourbon pecan pie ice cream, you need to go get it because it's amazing.
I haven't had that, but that's probably because in Texas we don't eat anything unless it says Bluebell on the label. I think the first time I had Ben & Jerry's in my life was when they got shut down for.
I don't want to hear your excuses. That sounds like no. Be a man and go to the store and get some because it's so good. Immediately jumped into my top 5. But yeah, Larceny is a good mid-range bourbon. If you're looking for things, and that's the thing about bourbon that's so interesting. Is a lot of people, since this is Barbells and Bourbon, let's talk a little bourbon.
Bourbon. For sure, dude. I want to see if I can get a bourbon. Actually, I'm drinking Garrison Brothers, the very first legal bourbon in Texas.
Yep.
And my wife and I bottle for them all the time. So I've met the owner. We have a good collection, kind of know the crew there. And I want to see if I can get them to sponsor the show because I think that'd be really cool if we could get a bourbon sponsor, like the Texas bourbon sponsor, to sponsor this fitness show.
That would be awesome. Keep hustling, building an audience, and you'll get that. But I love bourbon. I love Scotch, mainly for 2 reasons. One, a lot lower calories, so you can drink a little more. And 2, double the alcohol. If you go out to drink and you're going to buy a microbrew beer, you're going to pay $8, $9, sometimes upwards of $15 to $20 for a beer that has 9 to maybe 10% alcohol. For a good bourbon, you can spend $8 or $9 and you're getting double the amount of alcohol. To me, that's a better investment.
And this is really good. I don't know why I didn't think about why didn't we talk about the benefits of drinking straight liquor when you're on a diet compared to drinking beer and other things. I should have made that the first episode. And this idea came from, my group coaching clients. at the first week, we have a big happy hour where we hop on a Google Hangout and we talk and I answer questions and I explain to them how to drink alcohol and still follow their diet plan. And we all get to know each other and it's really fun. That's what inspired this. But like you said, you know, liquors and those sorts are better because like if you get a beer, you have all the carbs and the calories that come from that.
Well, no,
the calories from alcohol.
Right. To be fair though, most beers only have about 11 to 12 grams of carbs in them. So you're only getting about 50 calories. And that's what most people don't realize is that a lot of the 200 calories that are in a beer, most of the time are coming from the alcohol. Not so much the carbs. So that's one thing I do try to defend with beer is most people are like, oh, it's the carbs. I mean, you can still get fat drinking liquor. Like,
true. And I guess what I should have followed that up with saying is if you sit down and you have a tumbler of bourbon, you know, most people might have 1 or 2 tumblers of bourbon. Like, you know, it's not like we're going to sit there and be knocking them back.
Right.
I think most people drink beer by the 6-pack. Maybe that's just my friends, but
that's true. And beer most of the time, I mean, it's mostly water anyway, so it's very easy. The lighter you make it, the easier it is to drink it, the more you consume, the harder it is to get drunk because you've got 4.5–5% alcohol by volume. You know, so that's not uncommon. But you are right. You'll typically drink less when it comes to bourbon. That's why personally I've moved on a little bit more because it's time to be a man. And I'm going to write an article about this. I got a place I want to pitch it to, but I really I gotta hunker down and I gotta write the hell out of this. But Scotch is the drink of a successful man. It is the drink of a Renaissance man. It is the drink of an intellectual. But the great thing about Scotch is that you have to be in a really, really bad mood to get drunk on Scotch because it's so it kicks so much. It kicks so hard. It's like taking a kick from a mule in the mouth sometimes. It's great, but you're not going to sit down and drink a whole bottle of Scotch. It's just your taste buds are going to be under attack in a good way, but it's not like a cheap bourbon where you can just drink half a handle in no time. I've moved on to a little bit more to Scotch now, and that's why getting back to side quest in my business, my motto is squats and Scotch.
Squats and Scotch. I like that. That goes well with bourbon and Barbells.
And Barbells.
And you know what? If you don't get that article picked up by wherever you're trying to get it picked up, you know, go ahead and send it my way, and I'd be happy to have that as a guest post on.
I will do that. So you asked about side quest. I'm an Uber nerd. I don't apologize for it. I love it. Every single thing in my life in some way gets connected back to Star Wars, video games, comic books, because those are stories. And what we do as human beings, and we do this with our own goals and the things we fear the most, we are storytellers. We tell ourselves stories for why we can't do something, why you can't accomplish something. And then we tell ourselves stories to inspire ourselves to get over obstacles. You know, all the heroes and mythological gods throughout history have had stories that they were humanized in one way, but they overcame great obstacles that we all looked up to and we wanted to aspire to be like them. And video games are no different. You play a hero in a video game. My favorite genre is RPGs. If you're not a gamer, that's a role-playing game. Where you get to
role-playing games are so similar to, I mean, when we start, sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you, but when we start talking about like how to apply this to your fitness journey, those RPGs being in that mindset is so helpful. I mean, that's why I think this is such great information.
Yeah, it is. So in an RPG, you get to, usually you get like a brief little intro trailer or level to your character, gives you a little backstory, and then you get to create your character. Now, things have advanced over time. So now you can do things like you can move eyebrows, you can make their faces really distorted, You can make them look a lot like you. You can even scan a picture of yourself in now in some games and put yourself into the game.
That's cool.
But you get to create your character, and then you get to pick what kind of class you want to be. Do you want to be a warrior? Do you want to be a mage, a wizard, a thief, a ninja, or whatever? And you get to, each one has different perks and can do different things, but you can always learn from others. And for some reason, and I don't know why, and I guess it's just how my brain was framed. Playing games like Zelda, Final Fantasy, Knights of the Old Republic, they taught me the value of choices. And in each game, you're faced with a choice. Either it's a line of dialogue, or it's, do I choose this weapon to level up here, or do I choose this weapon to help me with this boss? And I started to realize, that life is like an RPG. We're all faced with choices every day, and fitness is no different. When it comes to diet, you're faced with a choice of, okay, do I say yes to the company Friday cookout where I know there's going to be like hamburgers and hot dogs and cookies and all this stuff that I shouldn't eat? Or do you make the choice to say, no, I'm going to go home, and make my own. And ultimately, it all comes down to choice. But having that background in video games, I think, really helped me continue what I call my fitness quest. And now moving into being a coach online and coaching people as a personal trainer, applying those same mindset tricks and same things that I learned to allow my clients to create their own story, because I want them, at the end of the time they're done with me, I want them to sit down and write the story of their journey. And I want them to read that story, and I want them to be moved so much by their own story that they're like, I don't know who this person was. Like, the person that I can't believe I am this person. Like, I became the person in this story, and I overcame these obstacles. And you'll hear a lot of people talk about the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell and the things that he wrote about, and how Star Wars was influenced on that, and The Matrix and Harry Potter, and so much was influenced from Campbell's work and the hero's mythos. But I think that is an important thing you can do to conquer your own fitness journey or your own fitness quest, is to look at it from the stance of a hero.
So, we've talked about this so much. So like, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've experienced it some. You've kind of put me through your new program, which is super cool because you're getting quests and missions and things instead of just a regular fitness program, and it's like being in a game, and boss battles. I really want to talk about that later because
we'll talk about the boss battles.
It's such a cool thing.
They've been getting better and better and better, and
I bet.
My clients have been telling me that they've really enjoyed it, because I think, and this is the word, we'll talk about it later.
Let's save it for a second. So, but what I want to do is I really want people to, like, I understand it, and I want people to see kind of what you're taking them through. And so tell me a little bit about how you can use the experience of a video game, right? Or this quest, like if you enjoy, like, even if you enjoy movies, like if you watch, a movie, and somebody starts and they overcome this big obstacle, and it's this story. So can you tell me about how somebody can use their own story to actually do better in fitness? Like, if our listeners want to do this, how is that actionable?
Well, I use a few little different things with clients. One of the first questions I ask, is who is your favorite superhero? Mike, who's your favorite superhero? Well, I know we've discussed this, but let's just sort of, as if you were coming to me, who's your favorite superhero?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I would think, I always like the idea of superheroes, but I don't have like a favorite. I don't know. I guess I like Batman because he does stuff without some like inhuman power. He just goes out and,
See, and there's a reason you connect with Batman, because, Superman's sort of a god. He has a power. Yeah. Like the rest of them, Batman's just a smart dude with a lot of money to create really cool weapons.
Right.
But that's the question I will ask my clients when I first get them in the door, because we all connect to our heroes because we see a piece of ourselves in that hero.
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason that Captain America connects and touches me, at my core, because
Yeah.
he knew from the moment he was born.
Well, now that you said this, like, and you brought up Marvel, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go back. I like Iron Man. And when Civil War comes out, I will be on the other side as you. Because, Batman and Iron Man are like the same guy, except one's way cooler. Batman's way too serious for me, dude.
Yeah, he's written that way. All right. Anyways, we'll be on the opposite side of the spectrum.
Continue. So Cap, why you relate to Captain?
Team Cap.
All right.
I relate to Cap because he grew up a weakling. He wasn't born strong. He wasn't naturally athletic. He just had a lot of heart. But he knew deep down that he needed to stand up for people that were weak. Even if he was weak, other people needed to know that someone was there to care for them. And he wasn't really sure what it was, but he just knew that was his calling. That's what he had to do. And I connected with that as a kid because that's just what I did. And I think naturally why I gravitated towards being a coach, because I wanted to help others conquer their own fears, and get past the things that they were scared of, because something deep inside of me told me that that's who I was. So when I ask my clients, who their favorite superhero is, they usually have a reason they connect with that person. They connect with that person either because of the morals that hero holds, or because that hero did something that they did at one point in their life, or went through a situation like they went through. If you were orphaned, you're going to connect with Batman. If you lost a parent, you're probably going to connect with Batman. If you were a rich kid and then saw yourself become an alcoholic, you're probably going to connect with Iron Man because he.
I am. Despite the name of the show, I am not an alcoholic and I am not a rich.
I'm just like there are reasons you connect, like Spider-Man. You connect with Spider-Man because every dude in high school felt kind of weak and bullied at some point. That's why people connect with Spider-Man. Sure. So there's a lot of
connecting with these heroes. How does somebody use that? Like you asked them this. How do they then use that to do better in fitness and in?
All right. So let's say, Mike, your hero is. Let's just say your hero is Iron Man, as you said.
Perfect.
And through our discussions, I find out that you have something you've been struggling with, and you struggle to say no to donuts on Friday. Well, okay. One of the first things I would have you think about is the thing you struggle with. How would Iron Man defeat that? I want you to, the next time you see that donut, I want you to visualize yourself as Iron Man. You're not Mike today. In that moment, you're Tony Stark. You're Iron Man. How do you defeat that moment? By using the power of visualization, you kind of run a movie through your own head, and you get to visualize Iron Man, taking his arc reactor and shooting a laser bolt at it and blowing the donut up. But also beyond that, I allow my clients to create their own hero. They get to come up with their own name. They get to come up with their own backstory. Now, again, most of the time, their hero story runs a parallel to their favorite superhero because we connect with that person. We see ourselves in that person. So it makes sense when they have an issue or they have an obstacle they're trying to get over for me to go back to their favorite superhero and be like, how would they conquer that? Yeah. When they conquer it, then I say, great, Mike the Mighty came in and destroyed that.
Yeah, man, thanks for giving me a cool name. No, I'm kidding. No, so this is really interesting because I talk a lot about habits and visualizing your future and everything with my clients. And one of the things we talk about is like who you want to be once you've achieved your goal, what that future you is going to look like. And kind of starting to adopt that persona. And so I can see the same kind of thing here where maybe you're in a situation where you're going, I've never lifted weights before and I want to get stronger. I want to get leaner. So I'm going to start trying to lift weights, or I can't lose weight because of this, or I have never been successful on a diet. And we have these like stories we tell ourselves. But when you take us, like if you take a client out of their story that they've developed and you put them into this hero journey or this future them that is strong and can lift heavy weights and has been successful on a diet and is lean, has achieved their goals and is confident and all those things. And you're telling this person to adopt that persona and pretend they're that person instead of themselves, which is what it sounds to me like you're doing with these heroes. I can see how that would make, that journey so much easier, because all of those excuses that you have that are holding you back, they don't matter anymore because you're not that person. You're Iron Man.
Right. And I think we all tell ourselves stories when negative things it's a natural thing. I mean, that we've done. I think it's why we as a species have continued to tell stories, whether it's through film, whether it's through music, whether it's through visual arts, or I have a background in theater. Like I have a degree as, to be an actor. So I know what it's like to be on stage and tell a story, or want to write a play and tell a story. But every day we tell ourselves stories. I can't eat that many vegetables. All right. I can't not have ice cream. I can't do this. I can't do that. And we've had times where we've been hurt and we've told ourselves a story to protect ourselves. It's a natural inclination.
Yeah.
But once you understand and once you're able to connect that story and get out of yours and connect it with something else that you truly feel passionate about and you connect with, then you can start making a change. For me, I was an active kid. I played sports all year round, but I was kind of the overweight fat kid who sat on the bench. I had a lot of heart, which is why I always connected with like Steve Rogers, the Captain America.
Yeah, for sure.
Because as a kid, he had a lot of heart, and like he would jump in a fight to defend someone, but still getting knocked out. And
even though he was like the scrawniest kid, and I've never read comics, but I've watched Captain America, and he's
I kid you not, playing basketball, my coach would put me in, and he would be like, you have 8, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds on a team. You've got some really small 8-year-olds. You've got some really big 11-year-olds. At like 10, I was still slightly bigger than an 8-year-old, but really smaller than the like big 11-year-old. I was going in and like throwing elbows, boxing out, guys like 8 inches above me, and I'm like putting my ass in them. Like, no, you're not going to get the rebound. And like I had heart. I also fouled out a lot because of said heart. I grew up active, but I was always kind of slow and fat, and I would play with my friends and then be like, man, you got a Sega Genesis. Let's go play Sega Genesis. Okay, you guys keep playing basketball. I'm going to go sit in the corner and play Sega Genesis. And I was the weird kid. I said weird things, did weird things, ate weird things. I still remember one of my best friend's moms being like, looking me directly in the eye and going, "You're a really weird kid."
Oh, geez.
I'm like, okay, I'll take that. Most of the time I wanted to play video games and not, be as active. As I got older, that started to take its toll. And for me, I was like, you know what? I've got this degree in theater. I love video games. I already view life like an RPG. And when it comes to work or relationships, how do I level up? Why don't I do that for fitness?
Yeah.
And created my own character, which is sad because I should have come up with a way better name. But a friend of mine jokingly called me the Ginger King one day, and I was like, yes, that's my character.
The Ginger King.
I'm the Ginger King.
Awesome.
I think back and I'm like, I have a degree in theater, and I can't come up with a better name than the Ginger King. I guess I'm also hoping when we take over the world that title will continue.
Well, it's funny because when I went through my weight loss journey and lost all my weight, like what really got me started was kind of treating it like a game myself, like making it where I was trying to improve weaknesses. And, a concept that we talk about all the time in fitness, especially in weightlifting, is progressive overload. And it's that idea of just getting better every single time you go to the gym, adding more weight to the bar, doing more reps. And for me, that resonated with a game so much. Like I was leveling up. I was becoming stronger. You could physically chart my stats, my numbers increasing on different lifts. And it was like, you know, small little level ups. Those were like victories for me all the time. And that helped me be consistent. And so I can see why so many people are really like drawn to your style of coaching and making a story and using gamification. And we're going to get into some of these other cool features that you're using too. But yeah, I can see the draw to that. Well, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and, you know, do you have any, you know, if people want to add some gaming elements to their fitness journey to kind of make it easier, to make it more fun, right? Let's take that, right?
Oh,
like we all know, like part of this is making it fun, because if you want to stick to this long term, if you know, I talked earlier this week about how do you get motivated to go exercise? Well, you've got to make it fun. You've got to do something you enjoy. So how do you use these gaming elements to make it more fun for your clients?
Oh, man, that's a great question. You know, that takes me back to let me divulge a little bit into my video game history.
Okay.
Well, because I gotta build on it. This is where my ideas came from. You know, so when you growing up, and I know you've dabbled a little with mostly MMORPGs like City of Heroes. But
yeah,
you played.
That's pretty much the only game I've ever played.
So you didn't play Nintendo as a kid?
Well, a little bit, but when I played Nintendo, like I think the most advanced video game system I had in my life was a Nintendo 64. I remember asking my parents for a PlayStation one time, and this was when PlayStation 2 came out, and they got me an awesome used PlayStation with from somebody they knew. And so all my friends are playing PlayStation 2, and I had a regular PlayStation, you know. And so luckily Driver 2 is an awesome game, you know, and so I mean it you know, it was okay, but sorry Mom if you're watching, you know, I love you.
Well, all right, so
video games weren't as big of a part of my childhood as apparently they were for yours.
Well, they weren't. I had to fight my parents on some things as well. My dad was not going to spend $60 on a video game. Yeah. But so in a lot of games, when you started playing them, you know, nowadays you have like achievements you can unlock and crazy ridiculous things you can do in a story, and you have like 3 or 4 difficulties, and then like one you can unlock, which is really super hard. And then you have things like online play. You have all these things you can do in games. Well, back in the day, you just had the game. Like there was just Super Mario. You had 8 worlds you had to run through, things you had to jump over, turtles you had to kill, and a dude that was hogging a princess that you had to like rescue. Well, for a lot of people, they came up with their own crazy like challenges that they would play with their friends. Oh, can you beat Zelda? Can you beat Zelda with only the sword? Never use a bow and arrow. Never use anything else. Can you beat Zelda with 3 hearts? That's it. That's all you can ever get. You can only ever use 3 hearts. Can you beat it? You know, crazy things like GoldenEye. Can you win the game by just using your hands and slapping people? Like people would come up with crazy challenges, and even in the game, like they would do things. So challenges are some of the things that I use to gamify. And in the realm of things we would do in our past, we would be like, all right, you've got 30 seconds to do this. So using time as an advantage. So a challenge could be something like, all right, you've got 3 exercises. You got to do them back to back to back to back to back. You know, 5 reps of each in 5 minutes. Can you do 10 rounds? Can you get 10 rounds in 5 minutes of 5 reps of, say, a shoulder press, a squat, and then like, I don't know, thrusters. Can you do that? Can you get 10 rounds in 5 minutes? Cool. That's a challenge. So you've used time and you've used quantity of like, you know, rounds to do something. That's one thing I do with my clients to keep it fun. So yes, for a few weeks, they're going to be doing the grind, which you as an MMORPG player know. For those that don't, when you grind in like an online role-playing game, that's usually when you're like killing boar in the woods. You're doing the most mundane, unfun things because you're trying to level up. You've got this boss you've got to get to. You got this level you want to get to, but you're doing the things that you really hate, or that you don't hate, but they're just not as fun. So that's sort of what, your regular training is. For 3 weeks, you've got the regular training. You're doing squats, you're doing lunges, you're doing presses, you're doing pull-ups, you're doing whatever. Then in the final week of the month, you've got a boss battle. And the boss battle comes in. Go ahead.
So this is that really cool feature that we mentioned earlier. And guys, I mean, this is really exciting to me, and I think it's so cool. But think about, like, if you're playing a game, or like even if you're watching a movie or something, right? Like in a game, you're playing through all these levels, and then there's like a boss, like it's the big thing at the end that you have to do. Or in a movie, they go through this whole adventure, they're doing something, and at the end there's like the big showdown, the finale, right? And so Robbie's like applied this to fitness, and it's such a cool idea because it gives you something to train for, and it gives you something to get excited about, and then it's kind of like torture. I mean, it's a little rough, but yeah, man, tell us more about these boss battles. I think they're the coolest thing.
So as I said, you get 3 weeks of training. So let's just say you're doing squats and some bench pressing and whatever your program is.
Right.
The boss battle is going to play on what you've used, but using the challenges of rounds and time and trisets and supersets, and taking so if you've been resting for 90 seconds, cool. Now you're going to do 10 reps with like 50 pounds less of what you've been doing in the barbell, back squat. You're going to do 50 pounds less. You got 10 reps, but you've got 30 seconds of rest in between 4 sets. Your heart rate's going to get up. You're going to burn more fat. You're really going to test yourself, because the boss battle ultimately is a test against yourself. Because ultimately in fitness, you're trying to see how much better you can get. And just like in a game, these monthly boss battles are like mini bosses, because the main boss is losing that weight. The main boss is getting thinner, getting leaner, feeling more confident. Once you conquer these bosses and you go, holy crap, that workout was crazy, but I feel amazing. I have so much energy. Like I beat it. You feel energized. Then you've got the confidence to keep going. Most people give up after a month. They get tired, they get bored. This way, every single month, you've got excitement. You're good to go. You're excited to go into the boss battle. When you're done with it, you're excited about the next quest that you're going to go on. You're excited about where you're going to progress, where you're going to go. And it's, dude, my clients have been loving it. They've been eating it up. And the bosses are, they're challenging. I don't want to tell anyone about any of them, but I've created some bosses myself. You will have some famous bosses from video games like Ganondorf that you maybe get to battle as well. Maybe Sephiroth, Rocksteady, and Bebop from the Ninja Turtles. I'm working on getting a lot of this stuff in there, because I can make up villains, but the villains that you know and hate are the ones you really have always wanted to battle yourself. So why not get in the gym and take Sephiroth down?
So here's what I love about this. Like, you've taken some things that people really struggle with in fitness and reasons that people quit, and you've completely eliminated them. I mean, the first one is like, people get bored, right? Or they're just dreading it, and you've made it fun. You've added these fun challenges and these neat aspects to it. But then like the confidence thing, like so many people just get where they're like, I can't keep doing this. And I think the boss battles are such a confidence boost, because if you go in and the first time somebody looks at one of these boss battles, they're probably like, Robbie, you're insane. I can't do this. And then you're like, just give it a shot, man. And they go out and they do it, and they come back. I remember you had one of your clients posted a picture after his first boss battle. He's like laying on the floor, and he's just like drenched in sweat. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so worn out. I'm not going to be able to walk, but I feel invincible. And so, I mean, you're getting this huge confidence boost, so that instead of going like, I can't do another month or another 2 months of these exercises, you're going like, if I just did that, my workouts the next 3 weeks are going to be easy,
Yeah.
And it's a lot better. It's a lot easier to go do something when you're not scared of it, And so I think the way you're doing this is just incredible. And I hope that you guys are listening, can apply this in your own journey if you're not already. The little challenges for yourself, testing yourself, doing something difficult, more difficult than you think you can do at the end of the month, doing these boss battles. thinking of like your future you or the hero or whoever you want to become, and like just adopting that persona. That way, you know, you don't worry about the things you don't think you can do. You just, that person you want to be can do them, so you're going to go do them. And you know what, Robbie, you told me one time about one of your clients that like he had created his own character, like he had a name, and so he had a personality that he assumed when he went into the gym, like a name and like a personality. Can you tell that story again? I don't remember, but I just remember you telling me about it, and it was awesome.
I believe you were talking about Tim the Barbarian.
Tim the Barbarian, yes, that's the one.
Tim was actually long story short. Tim was this last sign from the universe that I needed to get into this business. And he has remained a faithful client for almost 2 years now. Even through school and what he's been busy doing in his personal life. And he's struggled. He's seen success and then he's dropped off, and he's put weight back on, and I've been there the whole time with him and coaching him and working with him. And you know, when I just had this realization, this is where I needed to go. This is what I needed to really do, and not be like everyone else. Be different, be bold, be audacious, to be like, no, I'm going to make this a game. We're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy. This is going to be an experience. This is not just workouts. This is not just exercise. Like, this is an experience you're going to live and love. You know, I told him, I was like, all right, create your character. Tim the Barbarian. Awesome. Dude, great name. Like, a barbarian? That's strong. You know from history what a barbarian looks like.
I feel like he's just going to go in the gym and just like start picking heavy things up and throwing them all over.
And that's exactly what he did. He went into the gym and, you know, he was intimidated for a while because he was a bigger guy, you know, to be in the gym and be around people. And I told him, I was like, dude, when you walk in that gym, you're Tim the Barbarian. Like, you don't worry about anyone else. You just walk up in that village and you slay everyone and take whatever you want. And that's what you do to the weights. And that's exactly what he did. And getting him through boss battles has just been amazing. And watching the progress that he's made, I've been really, really inspired. And just I love talking to him because he's really taken on the mantle of Tim the Barbarian in his own schoolwork as well. So it's transposed itself from fitness now into his life, you know, as a student, you know, trying to finally go back and get his degree.
I feel like the barbarian persona might not fare as well in academia as it would in the
he's applied that tenacity towards learning, towards getting good grades this time, and towards putting his focus where he needs to put it, which is to get a degree so that he can do what he's always wanted to do and not slack off this time. And he's been very, very good at doing that. I'm very proud of him. Yeah,
and something that's awesome, dude. Thanks for sharing that story. But I love that Tim the Barbarian. I couldn't remember the name. I just remember the name was great, and like how, you know, you told me about how like it just changed. He became another person in the gym. And he was so intense, and like, and the weight came off, and he got stronger. And
I mean, and his lifts went up. I mean, he wasn't afraid. He wasn't afraid to try new things. He wasn't afraid. Like, I told him, it was like, when you put that barbell on your back, when you grab that dumbbell, whatever you do, you are the barbarian. And he went with it, and he's seen good success. So
that's awesome. Well, you mentioned grinding in games earlier, and I made a note here because I wanted to bring this back up because, you know, I know a lot of gamers. I've got a lot of friends. When I was in college, I had a lot of friends that were gamers, and I also know that there are a lot of people in the gaming community that really struggle with weight. And there's a lot of people in the gaming community that they get really involved in games because it's an escape for them, and where they might not be the strongest, or I don't know, but they might not be the strongest or most popular person in real life, but then they can go into this fictional game and they might be the best player in that game that everybody respects, right? And so I think for the people that maybe are gamers or have struggled, you know, what I would point out is in games, you have to grind and you have to do these kind of menial tasks to just get better a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time. And they put in a lot of effort and they're having fun, but they put in a lot of work to do well. They invest a lot of time and it takes a while. And I just think that like gamers have a better mindset for fitness than most other people in the world because they know how to grind. And so I think like, you know, if you, for example, like if you're into games, like you need to talk to Robbie. He's inspiring because he's been there and he knows people are like that. And he's proof that like you can go from like being overweight and maybe that's your escape to going like, you know what, like I'm going to apply these skills that I have as a gamer to real life and get better and improve myself and be that powerful, confident, strong person in real life, you know?
Yeah, there's a great book, and if you want to put this in the show notes wherever you have it, or anyone who's listening, I just finished it. I've got to get her new one. It's by an author called her name is Jane McGonigal.
I listened to her podcast with Tim Ferriss.
Yeah. It's a book. It's
really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's a book called Reality is Broken, How Games Can Teach Us to Be Better. And I don't remember the subtitle. But she's a huge gamer. And she had a concussion. And to overcome her concussion, she created her own mental game called Jane the Concussion Slayer.
Yeah, that's right.
And to get over the things the hurdles that she had, she created her own game in her mind. And, you know, after some time, she was able to recover from those injuries. But she talks a lot about how, you know, there were games out there created online. There's a thing called Chore Wars. Anyone who's married, you should sign up for this. It's still active online, but it's a game where you have to do chores before your other significant other gets in and does it, and you get points, and you get like it becomes a competition. Which nice. My wife is not a gamer, but she loves to compete. She just doesn't like to admit that. But that's a good one to check out. And she talks about a lot of other things in there as well. But that gamers are designed like mentally to succeed almost more than anyone because they understand the importance of grinding. They understand the importance of constantly getting better, of leveling up. And when they view things like that, it's almost instantaneous that they start to see results.
Yeah. And for those of you that aren't gamers and you're just watching this because you're interested and you want to know how to make like your workouts and things more fun, when he's talking about grinding, he's talking about like the menial tasks that you have to do to achieve a goal. Like in a game, it might be like doing so many of these little tasks, these little missions or whatever. And it's just time consuming stuff that you just got to do. And in real life, what it really comes down to is enjoying the process and focusing on the process and getting in your workouts every week and eating the right foods and getting enough sleep and like just doing the little things in the process that if you do enough of them in a row for a long enough period of time, you'll get the results. And that's why they're so good at it and why you can be too if you apply that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. It's man, now I want to go play Call of Duty again. I don't know why, just for some reason. Because I started thinking about that. Like when you it takes a while to level things up, but if you just get really good at focusing on the small things and paying attention to the things. Anyways.
Well, you're busy changing lives. You don't have time for that nonsense.
Hey, whoa. I'm still trying to make time. I still gotta keep my power. And I can't be an entrepreneur who talks about turning fitness into a game and not play video games.
True. That's probably true. It's like market research basically, right?
It is, and I think technically I can claim buying a game as a business expense for research. I just got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's not totally legal advice, but I'm not sure that you can pull that one off. You know what? Go ahead, run it by your CPA. See well, man, this has been really great, and I just to kind of wrap things up. I'm going to post all this stuff about where people can find you and everything, but like. Give us like your final message, not to just gamers, but just in people in general about how they can use the power of games and just making workouts and dieting more fun to be more successful. Like what's your kind of parting gift for everybody?
It may not relate to games, but I want to go back to talking about heroes. And there are heroes in games, and you play the hero in a game. Maybe you don't get to create Mario. He's already there. But I want to talk about heroes. I am a firm believer that all of us are born heroes. We all have a hero inside of us. And as a kid, you let that hero out. You live the imagination of saving the world, of having superpowers, or doing whatever it is. And as we get older, we become a little more jaded, and we become more of, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And we forget. We lock that hero inside of us. We still watch movies. We still read books, and we get inspired by people that we connect to. But we still tell ourselves that we can't be like that person. And the truth is, if you read through philosophy and all the great teachers of the world, the one thing they all understood, and the thing that all superheroes understand, is that you have that power within you. And whether you connect with Batman, whether you connect with Captain America or Iron Man, the Flash, Wonder Woman, whoever it is, the reason you connect with them is because you see a piece of yourself in them. So whatever your obstacles are in life, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, start thinking about how your hero would conquer that. Start creating that hero story in your own life, and you'll notice quickly that a lot of the things you used to see as obstacles start to break down, and you'll break through those. So apply that with your fitness. When you go in the gym, you're not Mike. You're Mike the Mighty, or you're Batman. You're Bruce Wayne. Lift those weights as Bruce Wayne would lift it, because you know if you don't lift the weights, if you don't put the work in, the Joker will conquer Gotham and justice will not reign.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. I freaking love it. This was really great. I'm so glad we had you on here for the first episode. And as a, fellow bourbon lover, and bringing on, getting that discussion in here in this first one. This is fantastic stuff, guys. I really recommend check out Robbie's stuff. He's a freaking content machine. So I think this guy,
not a content machine.
I'm telling you, lately, like when I go on Facebook, it's like Robbie wrote a new article. Robbie wrote a new article. Robbie wrote a new article. Like I see more content from this guy than anybody else. I mean, he's one of the hardest working dudes in this industry. So check out his stuff. It's awesome. It's entertaining. He's always adding in the movies and the games and the books and the stories, and like it's fun to read, and you're gonna learn something too. And if you're looking for a very unique spin on fitness, like if it hasn't worked for you in the past, like you want to try something new, seriously, there's nothing more unique out there than Robbie's programs and this game and these boss battles, these things. But like, listen to this again, take some notes, add challenges, add boss battles, take on a hero persona, do all these things he said, and you're going to have a lot more fun with your fitness and be a lot more successful. So, Robbie, thanks for being here on the first show. I guarantee you we're going to have you back on here again, because it was just a lot of fun, and I know you could talk about this stuff all day. So thank you for making this first one so great. I appreciate it, and I'll be making sure all of your many places they can follow you are listed in the show notes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys have a good night. Thanks for coming to our first episode of Bourbon and Barbells. Take care.